while you were arguing over the price of eggs and watching your purchasing power evaporate into the fiat ether, the greatest wealth transfer in human history occurred right under your nose. It was not broadcast on financial television, nor was it debated in the halls of democratic assemblies. Instead, it was orchestrated in the quiet, heavily guarded boardrooms of family offices, through encrypted communications, and via opaque private credit markets. You missed it because you were trained to look in the wrong direction entirely. You were watching the theater of public equities, while the apex predators bought the theater itself. Welcome to the subterranean reality of global finance. Over the past 3 years, a silent trillion-dollar asset transfer has been executed with the precision of a military campaign. The financial media feeds you a constant diet of anxiety. They give you inflation, interest rate hikes, and geopolitical theater. This is deliberately designed to keep you paralyzed, hoarding depreciating cash or gambling on volatile retail illusions. Meanwhile, sovereign wealth and elite capital have been ruthlessly absorbing the foundational assets of the modern world. To understand this monolithic shift, you must first discard everything you think you know about wealth creation. Wealth is not built by trading fluctuating numbers on a glowing screen. True wealth, which is generational sovereignty, is accumulated through the asymmetric acquisition of irreplaceable assets during periods of manufactured panic. When the central bank signaled the end of cheap money, the average retail investor saw a terrifying crisis. The sovereign elite, however, saw the greatest liquidation event of the century. They did not panic. They simply stopped participating in the public casino. While the masses watched their retirement portfolios bleed out in the stock market, the ultra-wealthy began a systematic pivot into the shadows of private markets. We are talking about private credit, distressed real estate, critical infrastructure, and unencumbered agricultural land. These are assets that do not care about daily market sentiment. They are the physical and economic scaffolding of human civilization, and they have quietly changed hands. Let us examine the mechanics of this silent transfer, beginning with the sudden explosion of private credit. As traditional banks retreated, terrified by regulatory scrutiny and tightening liquidity, a massive void was created. Who stepped into this void? The mega funds, the family offices. They became the lenders of last resort, dictating terms that would make tyrants blush. They are not merely earning interest, they are structuring loans with aggressive equity warrants, positioning themselves to seize the underlying assets when the borrower inevitably defaults. It is a brilliant and ruthless strategy. By controlling the debt, they control the destiny of the enterprise, entirely shielded from the volatility of public exchanges. This is how $1 trillion shifts hands without a single ticker symbol flashing red on a mainstream financial broadcast. The transfer is buried deep in the covenants of private debt agreements, accessible only to those who can effortlessly write 9-figure checks without seeking permission from anyone. You are witnessing the pure financialization of distress, engineered by those who operate far above the fragile mechanics of the traditional banking system. Then there is the quiet hoarding of tangible reality. Consider the sudden accumulation of agricultural land, water rights, and massive energy infrastructure. The billionaires are not buying these assets because they harbor a secret desire to become farmers or utility operators. They are acquiring them because they deeply understand the fundamental law of the coming decade. That law is absolute scarcity. We are rapidly entering an era where fiat currency will continue its mathematically guaranteed terminal debasement. In such a world, he who owns the yield-producing earth holds absolute power. The soil does not default. Water does not declare bankruptcy. Observe the highly strategic acquisitions across the American Midwest. the fertile belts of South America, and the mineral-rich territories of Africa. Vast swaths of productive earth are being cordoned off into private trusts and corporate entities with deliberately obscure ownership structures. They are legally fencing off the future. When global supply chains fracture and the cost of basic sustenance skyrockets beyond reach, these sovereign entities will essentially dictate the strict terms of your daily survival. This is not a simple investment strategy. It is the establishment of modern techno-feudalism. And what of the commercial real estate apocalypse we have been constantly promised? The media endlessly tells you the office market is entirely dead, crushed by remote work and punishingly high interest rates. The retail investor stays far away, terrified of catching a falling knife. But behind the theatrical curtain of doom, capital is circling like vultures. They are waiting patiently for the exact moment of maximum capitulation, when the over-leveraged institutional landlords are forced to liquidate their holdings at pennies on the dollar. They are buying generational properties for the mere cost of the raw materials. This is the pure essence of the dark luxury of asymmetric investing. You let the weak hands construct the magnificent skyscrapers during the boom times, using dangerously cheap debt. Then, when the economic cycle viciously turns and the debt crushes them, you step in and proudly acquire the masterpiece for a fraction of its true replacement cost. The wealth was not destroyed. It was simply transferred from the impatient to the patient, from the terribly over-leveraged to the incredibly cash-rich. This is the natural order. It is the brutal reality of the financial jungle, playing out in real time while you look away. Furthermore, we must carefully address the ultimate safe haven. We speak of physical, unencumbered commodities, strictly stored outside the grasping jurisdiction of desperate governments. While retail investors foolishly play with fractional shares of gold exchange-traded funds, assuming they have adequate exposure to the ultimate money, the apex predators are demanding physical delivery. They are chartering highly secure private vaults in Singapore, Switzerland, and Dubai. They understand that a paper claim on any asset is merely an unsecured, highly risky promise today. It is a promise from a counterparty that will undoubtedly default when the global system experiences a critical stress event. Therefore, they are moving heavy physical bullion, rare museum-quality art, and flawless stones into sovereign free ports. These are assets that require absolutely no electricity to maintain their immense value, no internet connection to verify their physical existence, and no government decree to validate their enduring worth. This is the ultimate form of stealth capital. It leaves no traceable digital footprint. It cannot be instantly frozen by a rogue central bank. It cannot be safely confiscated by desperate treasury departments. It is wealth effectively removed from the visible financial universe. Why is this catastrophic shift happening right now? Because the grand architects of the financial system know that the current paradigm is mathematically exhausted. The global debt burden has permanently crossed the event horizon. The compounding interest payments alone are rapidly consuming the productive capacity of entire sovereign nations. The elite are fully aware that the only possible way out for these bloated governments is the relentless, stealth default of hyperinflation. They are calmly abandoning the burning building of fiat currency, while simultaneously convincing the helpless masses to stay. They desperately need you to hold their rapidly depreciating paper. Your continued participation in the traditional financial matrix is the necessary friction that allows them to slip away completely undetected. You are the ultimate exit liquidity. That is the brutal, unspoken truth of the trillion-dollar wealth transfer. It relies entirely on your blind faith in a rigged system explicitly designed to slowly bleed your labor dry. The first step toward sovereign independence is recognizing the battlefield. Decouple your financial identity from their illusions. Adopt the psychology of the apex predator. Secure your own foundational assets before the window closes.